When you turn on your radio, by the time your ear gets to hear your favourite song in glorious left and right stereo, you're mindlessly enjoying the end result of a huge journey that involves the tiniest of sounds and the hugest of egos. You see, musicians have to first work to capture these painstakingly honed individual sounds. Beats. Melodies.
We sought shelter! We sought shelter!
And only then can they attempt to mix them perfectly together to create the one community of stereo sound that modern humans call a song.
I'm Grayson Gilmore. I am 1/3 or 1/4, depending on what era of the band we're talking about, of So Modern.
So Modern formed in the mid-2000s out of Wellington and came together as a band under a common and somewhat idealistic philosophy.
We share a lot of, I guess, quite varied musical backgrounds that we all have in common with each other. And that was like an appreciation of folk music, but also an appreciation of like hardcore and punk rock. And so it was just a strange combination of music being from the folks for the folks and also being aggressive and like confrontational. One of the things I love about So Modern was that it never really had a path that it wanted to take. It just wanted to kind of exist and make things fun for a lot of people, including ourselves. And that was almost like the prime objective of the band, was just to have fun and make valuable connections with humans. It was very much about not just music, but like a whole kind of utopian kind of concept.
Their angsty, synthy, post-punk sound quickly saw them gain a cult following in New Zealand and then internationally. Released in 2010, Crude Futures was So Modern's second long player, and The Worst Is Yet to Come was the leading single off that album.
A lot of the songs we were writing around this period were coming off the back of what was seemingly a never-ending run of shows that we played overseas. There was a period where we were playing like a really grueling run of shows and they weren't getting any better, and we were sort of just faced with this kind of like, man, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse before it gets any better. Just sort of, I guess, in this song, writing about maybe finding sort of salvation at the end of it, or just escapism from this kind of never-ending road before us.
But what is it about The Worst Is Yet to Come that so typifies the angsty, off-centre, synthy, post-punk lilt of So Modern? How did they make sounds like these? And this one? And if your drummer has 3 cowbells and uses them a lot, like all the time, how does one have that very hard conversation that maybe it's time to cut back? To get the answers to our questions, we gave Grayson Gilmore from So Modern a large pot of tea and got him around a mixing desk to show us the anatomy of The Worst Is Yet to Come and what it is that makes this song so special. What would you like to start with? How did the song get written?
This song, I think, originally came from an idea that I had on guitar. That's the one, yeah. One of the things we always enjoyed doing was just odd time signatures and whatnot. So this song is primarily in line 5/4.
Explain to us like what 5/4 feels like.
Just sort of lilts everything forward, depending kind of where you put the accent. So this one's counted as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. When you chop that last beat off, it sort of just throws you forward. It almost feels like it skips, but once you're used to it, it makes sense. This is Mark Leon playing guitar. I like his style of playing guitar because he's self-taught, so there's all sorts of like funny little intricacies that pop up. That's just the way that he plays.
What the heck's that chord?
Yeah, what is that? That's just raw power.
Can you try to explain to anyone listening to this, just going, this is just madness, what exactly your philosophy of guitar is in So Modern?
I guess we always manage to sort of compact a lot of ideas into a song. I mean, what Mark's playing now is kind of like a Tropicalia, almost kind of like African style, like high life guitar riff. And, you know, like 2 minutes before that, he was just doing like a kind of a Sun-O drone passage. So the song jumps all over the place in terms of time signatures, from like 5/4 to 6/8 to more of like a 3/4 sort of feel at the end. There's no discernible chorus. The middle part of the song is just a big wall of noise. And the end is a really nice mellow kind of outro.
It makes no sense, does it?
It makes no sense at all, but that's kind of the signature of the band in a way, was that it was really about odd juxtapositions and just experimenting with songs and, you know, what songs are and what songs can be.
So the drums here.
Yep.
That's what I call big old drums.
That's what I call Dan Nagels in his element. The drum room is a huge concrete vault, former Secret Service of New Zealand, I believe, at Monkey or Trident Studios.
I can hear the guitar churning away in the background, so was this recorded?
Yeah, so this was recorded live. We've done a lot of recording in the past that was multi-tracked and whatnot and sort of done in overdubs, but this album was, I mean, the skeleton of it was recorded all live. That's one of my favourite parts there, where you can hear Aidan scream almost orgasmically.
Why do you love that sound of him shouting, being leaked in through the drums? What does that do for you?
In that instance, for me, it reminds me of how energized that recording session was, and hopefully to the listener brings them more into the recording, and that it's not just like a really sterile environment. It's sort of like a really live environment where you can hear someone scream in the background because they're really giving it everything. One of the things I like about Dan's playing is that that's a technical drum beat, but just because he's smashing that constant chord note the whole way, it sort of like removes the technicality of it and just makes it something that the kids can mosh to.
What's this wooden thing he's hitting here?
Yeah, it's a wood block that he has mounted on his drum kit.
What is the wood block doing amongst the so-modern fury?
We replaced cowbell with woodblock because cowbell became like a very early and painful cliche of that band. And Dan had about 2 or 3 of those things. They'd mount them and he'd just be like... And he'd just be throwing them in all the time. We're like, dude, chill out on the cowbells. Let's just swap it in for one woodblock.
Was that a hard conversation to have, or...?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, you can take one cowbell away. I mean, that's okay. I mean, taking 3 away is... Clearly there's an obsession that, you know, needs to be sort of intervened.
Should we talk around the synths now? Should we go with the micro, the bass one first? It sounds sort of like a computer game distorted.
Yeah, so that's just one of Aidan's patches that he built. He's very meticulous with his synth patch building.
What does it mean to build a patch?
To build a patch is to sort of construct a sound from waveforms that you can dial up on your synthesizer. And Aidan is primarily a scientist. So he gets into the deep details and everything. And so he'll just spend hours constructing these bass patches or sounds that me were like, yeah, that's cool. You're like, do you not appreciate how long I've spent on this miraculous waveform?
Should we have a listen to the Juno?
Yeah, that's Aidan's right hand. We were listening to his left hand before, and now it's his right.
Wait a second. Let's just go into this. So you're telling me he's got a keyboard in each hand with a different sound on each one?
Yep. So he's got his micro mounted on top of his Juno, and he's playing both of them.
I mean, we've seen it in all the 80s music videos anyway, haven't we?
Yeah, but I mean, this guy does it.
This guy does it for real.
Yeah, for real.
So this is both of his hands together.
So he is harmonizing my synth line, which is a mono synth, which is playing dee-dee-dee, 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 dee-dee-dee. Yeah, so the 3 lines together sort of just jump around each other.
Beautiful. So the third synth that we have going on is your...
The Roland SH09. I love playing this keyboard because it only does one note at a time.
And the way the thing slides around, like that...
Yeah.
Is that you pulling on some knob on the side of the keyboard? Or?
Yeah, there's a fader on the keyboard, which is the portamento fader, which tells the synth how long to spend going between two notes. And so I'd be going through a bunch of riffs and then just change the sound and like flip the portamento to full and go from the bottom of the keyboard and hit the top. And so it'd spend all that time going... Sorry, that's a reverse. But yeah, depending up or down.
And then right at the end there's sort of this little... What's this about?
So this is a mbira or a kalimba, like a thumb piano that I've recorded, looped up and reversed on my sampler.
What do you think that backwards thing does? What does reversing something kind of achieve in the structure of a song?
I like the sound of a thumb piano, but at the same time it can be a bit too blatant, if you know what I mean. If I just started like playing thumb piano at the end, it would sound a bit like, I don't know. So yeah, reversing it in a way that wasn't actually totally tied down to the rhythm and just became its own texture was a nice thing to add to the end of the song.
Let's talk about the vocals. So we'll look at yours first, shall we? How would you describe even what this approach is to singing? It's sort of melodic shouting.
Yeah. So Modern brings out another side of me, so to speak. Because off stage, I wouldn't say that I'm the loudest person, but on stage with this band, something else comes up when I take on the microphone.
Yeto!
Who's this?
Yeto!
Aiden Leong.
Yeto!
So he kind of sings...
Yeto!
So he's doing a sort of like a response to my worst is still Yeto, worst is still Yeto.
What's this day? Yeto! Yeto! Yeto!
And he sounds exhausted, doesn't he? Like there's a lot of panting going on in there, which is part of, I guess, sounding like real humans. But what do you think the call and response thing? What does that do? What is that getting at?
Yeah, well, we like the idea of, the whole kind of pagan chanting thing. And we used to start our sets with chants, essentially. Just the four of us chanting band philosophies, essentially, and things just to sort of hype people up. And there's something oddly confronting about four people just chanting something for like about 2 or 3 minutes before a set. Like we would sort of walk through the crowd and just stir a crowd up with that kind of behaviour. And that just sort of spilled into our songwriting, where we'd sort of just be like chanting and sort of doing call and response, round robining things. And we just treated the voice as another sort of rhythmic instrument as much as a melodic one.
So interesting. And the other one here. Who's this?
It's Mark. She's doing a bit of backing vocals while he's playing guitar.
Sounds like he's got kidney stones.
Oh, Mark's got a long history of fronting hardcore bands, so yeah, he's got the real gravelly voice when he really delivers.
Shall we hear what it sounds like when it all comes together? So, after spending all this time creating and capturing these individual bits, what does So Modern think they've achieved when all these parts work together?
I think we really wanted to have a song that was in 5 that felt fun and not like prog, if you get what I mean. A lot of people sort of attached, time settings was like 5 and 7 with like funny kind of like proggy vibes, and it's like, ooh, this is so technical. But really, I think we just wanted to make that fun and weird and enjoyable. So I think we achieved that.
What would you like someone first hearing this? What do you hope they would feel?
What do we want people to feel? I guess no inhibitions. I don't know, we always just invited people to bring themselves to our concerts and our music, and for that just to be celebrated in a way.
And a big thanks to Grayson from So Modern. Anatomy of a Song is a radio adventure crafted by RDU, funded by New Zealand On Air, and produced by Rachel Morton, Jonny Pipe, and me, Spanky Moore. Thank you for listening.